Welcome to Papa's Workshop. In today's video, I'm very proud to be able to present to you the Rotary Roller by FOXAlien. Now this is a new one that's designed specifically for the FOXAlien 4040XE. Now this rotary roller is a little bit heavier duty. It has the NEM23 stepper motors, and this has everything that you need to be able to get up and running using the FOXAlien 4040XE. So today I want to show you in detail how to be able to set this up and do the first test engraving. So let's get started. I want to take this opportunity too to thank my Patreons. It is a growing community and it really helps this channel a lot to be able to continue producing videos such as this. And if you would like to be able to support this channel, you can go to patreon.com/Papa's Workshop and you can be able to contribute to this channel. Today I'm showing the FOXAlien 4040XE with the rotary roller. Now what I've done so far is I have removed the 300 watt spindle and I went ahead and put in the FOXAlien laser and I've connected it over to the control box. Now one of the things that you absolutely have to do on the side of the controller is switch from the spindle over to the laser, and you can see I've done that inside. And then on the back side, you have to plug in the laser right there. So that completes the installation of the laser portion. The rotary roller for the FOXAlien 4040 is considerably larger than the smaller version, and the material that it's made out of is substantially more heavy duty, and of course you have a larger stepper motor. Included in this also comes the wrench as well as the Allen wrench, and it comes with the cable that will connect from the stepper motor over to the controller. So this is the rotary roller that I've just taken out of the box, and one of the things I want to show you, you can see that something is bent. It is not sitting level at all. So I'm literally going to take this apart and see what's causing this not to be level. And if something bent, we're going to try to straighten it so that we can get this to actually sit level on the table. From looking at the side of this, you can see that significant gap there at the bottom between the base of the rotary roller and the workbench. I'm hoping that I can adjust these screws right here on each side and correct the problem. If not, we're going to have to investigate further to see exactly where the problem lies. Looking at the other side here, this is actually missing the nut. So I'm going to go back into the box and see if it's actually there, or otherwise I'm going to have to get a different nut to be able to put onto this. Looking down inside the box, there's the nut. I'm glad I didn't discard this box yet. I literally had it in the trash can, but I had not thrown it away. So there's the nut that we need. Now I'm going to start off and loosen these two screws and the two screws on the other side, and hopefully I'll be able to correct the issue just with that. Otherwise, something's bent and we're going to have to find out what. Now I'm keeping my fingers crossed that nothing is bent and it just is misaligned. So I'm loosening the two screws, but I also realize on this side the belts are in the way. So I'm just going to go ahead and loosen the belts, and just by doing the set screws for the belt tension, that was not enough. So I just went ahead and loosened the roller itself, and going to get the belt out of the way. Now I have plenty of room to be able to get to those two screws. Now just by loosening these screws, it now sits flat on the table. So that's all it was. Everything else looked very straight. I don't see anything that was damaged or bent. And this bottom aluminum bar here is perfectly flat. So it was just a matter of how this was assembled. So I'm going to keep this perfectly flat And I'm going to go ahead and tighten this screw back up. Well, I'm glad it was nothing serious, and I'm very happy that it was not bent, because shipping can take its toll and cause problems. But in this case, it was just misaligned from the assembly and not a big deal. And of course, the nut was found, so now we're 100%. I'm just going to go ahead and finish tightening the screws, and we'll be ready for the next step. It's snug now, but it's not tight, and it's still sitting good and level on the table. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten these now. Okay, that problem has been remedied. It is all nice and tight now. I'm going to go ahead and put this roller back into the same spot for now. Now in the manual, it shows you exactly how to connect this. So from the stepper motor, you're going to use the cable that's provided and plug it into the stepper motor. And then on the other end, you're going to use the Y2 connection to be able to operate the rotary roller. The other important thing is make sure that you don't forget to remove the cable for the Y1. Otherwise, you will cause some serious problems, because the machine will try to move as well as the rotary roller trying to move, and that would cause a serious problem. So you must disconnect the Y1 cable and connect the rotary roller to the stepper motor over to the Y2 connection. I want to take this new cable that's provided with a rotary roller, and I want to plug it in right here. And we'll run this cable back underneath the machine. Now this is where we're going to remove the Y1 cable. We'll just let it sit right there. We're also going to remove the Y2 cable. And now we'll take the brand new cable and go ahead and plug it in. So that completes this portion. These two cables now are out of the way. For the test today, I'm going to use this dowel rod. Now this is an 1¼ inch diameter dowel rod, and I'm going to try to do an engraving both along the x-axis as well as on the y-axis. Now I want to verify that. So with the calipers, I want to go ahead and verify that this is 0.125 and it's 0.1251, close enough. So we're going to use that in the computer. Now the next thing we have to do is adjust the rollers, because that's obviously not going to work. Now this plate right here, I don't need to use in this application. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that. We're going to adjust the rollers closer. See, I'll set this aside. The little T-nuts, the two T-nuts that are down inside will be able to stay there. That won't be a problem. To be able to make this adjustment for the wheels, really is an easy process. You have two screws on each side of the rollers to be able to loosen. And just to make it easier for the camera, I'm going to go ahead and remove this arm as well and get that out of the way. Now when you take this off, you want to make sure that you save the washer. That washer is important to have between the arm and the base plate there. And then again for the nut, don't lose the nut. Don't need that to disappear. So I'm going to go ahead and put that back on, and then we'll set this out of the way. Now I have clear access to be able to get to the remaining screws for the rollers. And now that I have everything loose, I can just simply lift the roller out of its slot and be able to just move it over. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the other roller, and I can move it over one slot also. And if you'll notice, this actually gets it too close. So since that is too close now, I'm just going to go ahead and take one of the rollers and move it back one notch, and that should give the perfect spacing. So I'm just going to drop that back in, and then we'll test it out. Now at this point, the rollers are not tight. They're just sitting in the slots. But you can see that the dowel rod sits in there perfectly. And that's really what you want to be able to do. To make sure that it's adjusted properly, take your time with this, because it's going to make it where it's going to be able to rotate much easier if these rollers are set up correctly. Now as you change the different size, diameter projects, of course you're going to have to be able to adjust these rollers appropriately. But now I know that they're in the right position. I'm just going to go ahead and tighten up these screws. And then the next thing is time to put the belt back on. So we'll slip the belt on. Now there's two little bars here that we have to be able to use to tension. And this one's going to have to slide over to this back slot. And that way it will give me the proper tension that I need to be able to have. So again, take your time with this. You want the belt to be able to move freely, but you want them tight enough to be able to operate. So with that being said, you don't need to have the belts real tight. Don't put a lot of tension on the belts. All you need to do is just have them snug so that there's no slack, and that's really it. And you can see as I put this little tension screw back into this back section, this belt's loose. So all I'm doing literally is just pulling that back and tightening it down. It takes the slack out of the belt. Now I decided to move this second one. Although the belt was not hitting the bottom portion of the belt, I really didn't like it that close. So again, I can make just a smaller adjustment by being able to raise that up and give a greater clearance between the belt as it runs through this cycle. So now everything is set. All the mechanicals are done. Let's get over to the software. Now I mentioned this before in other videos, but turn the machine on first before you open up Lightburn. That way when Lightburn opens, then it will be able to recognize the machine immediately and you'll get the ready indication rather than the disconnect. And if you look right up there, you're going to see where it says it's ready. So when Lightburn opens up, it actually connects and it's ready to be able to use. So let's go ahead and click on the move, and let's see if we can move this. So we look over here, it moves to the right, and it'll move to the left, and that's good. Let's bring this forward now. You can see how that's going to move just right. So that's what we want to be able to see. I also put a reference line so I know where the vertical is on this dowel rod. I think that will help as far as a reference. And now I'm going to hit the fire button and we're going to locate the dead center of the dowel rod. So there's the fire button right there. That actually looks real good. And now we need to be able to calibrate the Z-axis to be able to have that the 30 millimeters above. So I can turn off this. So I'm going to set that right there and lower this down. That's exactly where it needs to be. So now the Z-axis is set. All right, now we've got everything mechanically set up. We've tested to make sure that the machine is going to respond to our movements on the X and Y axis. The next thing, let's go ahead over to the Tools menu and go all the way down to Rotary Setup. we have to be able to go ahead and turn this on. That is, enable the rotary. The next thing that we have to do, and this is going to be on the Y-axis. In the manual, it shows that this should be set for the 40 millimeters per rotation, so we'll enter that number. And we also have the roller diameter. Now, according to the manual, the roller diameter is 26 millimeters. Let's convert that over to inches. So if we convert that over to inches, because this is set up in inches, that is going to be 1.023. So we'll go ahead and click OK on that. Now the next figure I want to put in is the object diameter, and that's also is in inches. So that actually gives us the circumference at 3.92699. Able to test this now, I want to come over here to the rectangle, and we're going to create a little rectangle. We're going to come up here on the x-axis, and we're going to put this as 0.25 of an inch. And for the height on the y-axis, we're going to put in that circumference that we were just given. And that circumference was 3.926. And let's zoom in. So that is the rectangle. Now we don't need to have this as a fill, so I'm going to come over here to the cuts. We'll change this to a line. That will be it right there. This is the center point for the origin. So now I want to come down here and let's just do the cuts. We have this at 70 and 70. For this test, I certainly don't want to run it that way. So let's just have this at 100 inches per minute. It'll go much quicker to be able to do the test. We'll leave the power at the 70%. We don't need it that dark. So we're going to go ahead and grab the glasses, and we're going to make our first test. When you do a test like this, what you're looking for is actually two things. The first thing is this line that goes around. You want it to be where it will be right in line with the other portion. Now here's the beginning and end. That creates one line across there. That is perfect, because that was the beginning of the circle that it made, and then it came back and completed it, and it stopped exactly where it needed to be. So that is perfect. That's what we're looking for. Now, if you do this type of test on a project that's not just an experiment, you can actually wrap a piece of painter's tape around there and do the same thing to make sure that the circumference matches, so that when you actually do the engraving of the actual text or of the picture, you know it's going to be right. But this is an excellent way to be able to do it. This is what you want. One straight line at that point, and these two lines to be completely parallel all the way around when it crosses. Because if this was twisted, these lines would be offset in relationship to the other side. Now I went ahead and just dropped in a rectangle, and this is going to be the guideline that I have to be able to keep my artwork in. I know that my diameter is 3.923, and I only want to do maybe half of that. So I want to set on the y-axis at about 2.0. And then as far as the length of this, I don't need to go 6 inches. I think that if I just type out maybe a 2.5 inches, that will give me a window large enough. Now, what do I want to type in here? Well, let's go down to the text, and we'll type in the FOXAlien. We'll go down, let's see here. All right, now we'll reduce this down so that it will fit inside of the box. Let's slide it right up in here. Let's make it a little bit smaller. Now again, we could make the box bigger, but This is actually going to be good. Alright, we'll put that right there. Let's go ahead and change and put this on a different layer. We'll make this blue, and we'll go ahead on the cuts and we'll make this as a fill. Let's add a second line now. I'll go back over here and we'll just type in the rotary roller. Alright, and let's highlight this now and let's reduce it down, make it much smaller, and let it get it where it will fit right into this space. I think that looks good. So with that done, we're going to turn off the output on the box. We don't even need to show it anymore. And as far as this, let's see here. Let's go ahead and slow this down this time. We'll have this at the 70 inches, and I don't need to have this at a max power. We'll just drop this down to about 70% power. I think that will give it plenty dark enough. And I'm not going to have the air assist on, so we'll click OK. Okay, we're going to test the fire button and make sure that it's in the center. This will be the center of our artwork. So let's go ahead now, grab the glasses, and let's do the engraving. I want you to notice, see how it shifted a little bit to the left on the x-axis? That's because there are two screws right there. That screw actually bumped into the stepper motor. So that was my fault for not allowing for that distance. Now you can look at the 4040 XE and it's absolutely perfect. This actually bumped right here. I noticed it, but I didn't know what caused it. So when it bumped again along the top half of the word, I was able to see that that screw that was protruding down actually bumped the stepper motor. So that will have to be adjusted a little bit. But other than that, you can see that this is working absolutely perfectly. So now I went ahead and rotated this. I do want to make it smaller. I don't want to have it that large. We'll make that smaller, come down to about there. We'll put that right up again on the X, on the center point. So that looks real good. So let's go ahead and engrave this now. And let's see what it looks like. I think this will do fine. But I am going to change the settings. We're going to go over here to cuts and we're going to change this. So that was really too much power. It was cutting in too deep. So I'm going to change this down to 50% power and we'll continue on. So let's go ahead and hit start and we'll engrave this. So let me grab the glasses. Well, if you look at this finish now, that looks absolutely fantastic. That's what we want it to be able to do. Now the reason that those two screws were bumped is I have this auxiliary waste board in here, and that raised it up just enough to be able to have that rotary ruler hit the screws. So if I remove this auxiliary waste board, then it's going to work flawlessly. Thank you for watching today, and I really hope that you enjoyed this video and were able to learn something about this new rotary roller from FOXAlien. I'm looking forward to doing a lot of different projects with this one, and I hope that you will join me in future videos as I get more involved using this rotary roller. So if you liked the video today, please go ahead and hit that little bell notification and subscribe right down there below so you won't miss out on any of the videos. And I look forward to seeing each and every one of you in the future projects that I'm doing, whatever that may be.